Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadrunner.com with your morning hornsies, your sip of chaga coffee. So yesterday was a good day to buy silver because it went up 77 cents this morning. Um, any day is a good day to buy silver. It's going to be interesting to see what people think about the value of silver when the exchange is shut down. You won't know the price. You won't know if the COMEX is shut down, nobody would know the price of silver. You'd have local markets guys guessing at their local coin shop. What is the price of silver? Nobody knows. The COMEX shuts down. The U.S. stock market's shut down. The global stock market's shut down. All is contingent upon the exposure of the child issues at J.P. Morgan Chase. I've talked in depth with this about with Jenny Moonstone. We've been having these discussions for a couple years now, and it's one of the first things I was like screaming at her: "When's silver gonna blow? When's the silver manipulation's gonna stop?" And she always connected those two together. It will only, and we're learning more and more. By the way, I'll get to that in a second. Of J.P. Morgan's involvement in that world of Epstein and all the things that go along with that. And it is massive, and good old Jamie Dimon will end up in, I don't think he'll end up in jail. I don't think he'll be that lucky. He has lied all the way down the line. We know he's the biggest silver rigger, him and his gang of married men and women. Don't forget Blythe Masters, who ran away from the scene to try to get into cryptos and rig that. And now she's kind of disappearing. Here and there you hear about her. But I don't think she's around anymore. Believe it or not. When she left JP Morgan suddenly and then left, it was more sudden when she left the crypto world. Just literally, she was very close to capturing it for all her banking buddies. And then all of a sudden, bang, it ended. Interesting. Anyway, so silver was allowed to go up. Yes, of course, I would still buy. I would still buy anything silver related as long as it's below. I'd say first stop for silver is going to be that I think about selling some. $600. Might sell a little bit and buy some cryptos again if the exchanges are going down now. Mind you, all the exchanges will go down because of one of these big banks or all of the big banks going down. And I'll get to that in a second again, but none of them would stay open. None of them would be open. If we do go to the BRICS gold standard, as people are chatting about, that would destroy the derivative market. Jamie Dimon and his bank uses that market to rig markets, uses the derivatives. They have 50, 60 trillion in derivatives, and they only have like 3 trillion in assets. If that's even correct, we don't even know. Truthfully, they have it was exposed in this one of the lawsuits that they have a secret book, keeping, like, for example, the gold and silver assets. Where are the gold and silver assets held at J.P. Morgan? Nobody knows. They have a secret set of books. The largest bank in the world has a secret set of books. That's just that tells you what's going on in the world, in the financial markets all around the world. That the largest bank in the world, the most regulated bank in the world, has an obvious secret set of books that is being exposed in these lawsuits about the pedophilia stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I'm a buyer at anything under $600. Just keep stacking. As David Ryder, the old U.S. Mint director, said, we're just adding to the nest here. We're adding silver to the nest. That's why they changed the back of the silver eagle. The eagle comes flying into the nest with an oak branch in its hand. They're just adding to the nest. And silver is important for the U.S. government to add to the nest for this new monetary system that's coming. Gold's not that important. They have so much gold, it's coming out their ears. The gold-silver ratio, by the way, very rare in the last 20 years that it stays above 80 to 1 for a long period of time. And yet in the past year, it's been up there almost half the time. So I'll be interested and see where that gold silver ratio goes as we get into the banking chaos of August and September. Where that shakes out, it really can't shake out anywhere that we have a sustainable system. That's what the Fed thinks they can do, and the FDIC thinks they can do. They can manage the crisis, kind of like what they did in 2008. They managed the crisis. We were at 2-3 hours away from the entire system melting down on September 11th, 2008, and they managed the crisis, and they were able to continue the rig job to keep everything going. I mean, truthfully, you look back and you're like pissed, but at the same time, you're like, we were given literally 15 more years to prepare for what's about to happen. Now, will we get another 15 years? Will they manage the crisis through this? I don't think so. And if they do, it won't be at an 84 to 1 gold silver price ratio. It'll be probably, if they do manage the crisis, it'll probably have to go down to what it's coming out of the ground at, which is 7 to 1. Which means, and I think gold is undervalued, even though there's about 10 times as much gold as they say. I still think it's undervalued. Gold should probably be 8 to 10 grand an ounce. I know Jim Sinclair says it should be $80,000 an ounce. But that would be, what would that do to the gold derivatives? It would destroy the whole system. That's the key. The key is the derivative 2.5 quadrillion in derivatives that are about to go bad. Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan being the lead guy on that. All right. So silver, yep. Just to take a look at this. One entity decided at 12:37 trading view time to make the price of silver spike. One entity right here. I mean, if you want to load up on silver, you could have just done these small silver purchases the whole time. One entity right here said, "Bang! I'm gonna put a large order in because I want to drive the price up a little bit." That's one entity. And then everybody else piles on. People get excited when they see price moves. I've seen it a million times. I talked to Andy Scheckman. And like, when do you see most of your customers calling? When the price rises, so it's like everybody thinks it's running away from you. When is the slowest times? And it's not when the price falls, it's when it's nice and steady. Like, it's nice and steady right in here. It's been hovering around $23 to $25. Remember, the price of silver has nothing to do with the amount of silver available, how many people are buying silver, doesn't matter. These are derivative contracts controlled by computer programs written by Alan Greenspan in the early 1970s and implemented by all the banks, currently run by a company called Virtu Financial. Virtu Financial is run by a guy named Vinny Viola that Trump wanted to make the head of the army, believe it or not. But hey, it is what, Trump tended to do that. Take all the criminals and put them so that they're exposed. It ended up he did not take the job. I think he figured out that he would have been more exposed than he is. Vinny Viola of Virtu Financial. Anyway, he runs the computer programs for all the banks to help rig the markets. All markets, by the way. He's also an authorized dealer in SLV. Now, why would a company that all they do is they're a computer trading market maker, aka market rigger, highest volumes ever out of anybody. They went like 7 years without a loss, complete fraud. But why would they be involved with a physical ETF on silver? Because it's all about control. Can you control the price? And I've never seen Virtu Financial or the previous incarnation of Virtu Financial, which is EWT LLC. Never seen them take, as an authorized participant, I've never seen them take delivery or give metal up on the COMEX data. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at that. Real weird things going on at the COMEX delivery in the warehouses. Yesterday, we're in the middle of the month, and yesterday 307 contracts were issued and stopped. That's what is that? 300. Oh, my brain is just not working. It's a 1.5 million? Yeah. That's 1.5 million, right? Um but it's odd because yeah, 1.5 million. Because we're in the middle of a month. I mean, why? Why are people doing this in the middle of the month? Remember, everybody's freaking out in June that like 400 contracts hadn't been delivered until like the final day, and then Bank of America ended up delivering them. Well, it's Bank of America at the back end of this one. What the hell is going on? Are they trying to just mess with our heads? I mean, obviously, to Bank of America, 1.5 million ounces of silver is nothing compared to their 1.2 billion ounces that they leased from JP Morgan. But if they are having to go through these machinations of delivering mid-month, I mean the actual delivery has gone up quite like 10 or 15% of silver this month. I mean the volumes are going down to zero almost, but if you look at this was only supposed to be 15 million contracts delivered this month, and it's a delivery month, and we're going to be hitting at least 20 million. So 5 million have been during the month have been called for delivery, which is I wouldn't say it's unheard of, but close to unheard of. 5 million ounces of silver from the beginning of the delivery month to the end that new contracts were created and taken delivery. Something odd is going on. And it is, and we can see the names. All you got to do is say, okay, look who's delivering. It's B of A is taking it, and JP Morgan customer, which is JP Morgan, and HSBC. Now, we aren't seeing any of the big deliverer this month because I think they are out of the silver market. Standard Chartered Bank right here delivered the vast majority. 2,400 is what? 12 million contracts. Well over half of the contracts delivered was one single bank. And where does how stupid is the CFTC to not to see this stuff? Obviously, something is askew if a single bank on the first or second day of delivery delivers well over half of all the delivery of silver for the entire world on COMEX contracts, where all of the metal pricing is done. I mean, where are the red flags? Why Standard Chartered Bank? I have been analyzing them for decades. Yes, they are. Of course, they are one of the main silver riggers, but they're getting out. They're making their final deliveries. And they knew what they were doing back in the day. Them with HSBC, Deutsche Bank, we just don't even hear from anymore. Who knows what went on there? Scotiabank has said we're getting out, and it looks like they are. B of A is the dummy on the block along with Wells Fargo. Morgan Stanley's in there now. I mean, Morgan Stanley's been busted so many times. They're just a tiny player, but they try to get away with shit. Very little is done at Morgan Stanley anymore after being busted a couple times. JP Morgan customer account, which is JP Morgan. Make no mistake, it's got nothing to do with their customers or their house account, because their customers did barely anything before JP Morgan got busted. It was all JP Morgan house account. And then as soon as they got busted and got on this 3-year probation, it went to JP Morgan customers. That is called a shell game. A shell game by the assholes at JP Morgan. And let's just talk about how much of assholes they are. Remember when the banks were going down at the beginning of the year? It's like, oh my God, the mid-tier banks are all going down, and everybody's taking their deposits out of the mid-tier banks, the regional banks, and putting them in the large banks because they're too big to fail and they'll get bailed out. That was the narrative. That's what all the newspapers said. That was not true. That was a lie. People were fleeing out of the big banks, even at greater numbers than the numbers are in now. Great stuff, by the way. If you go to Wall Street on Parade, Pam Martins and Russ Martins do a great job exposing the criminals at JP Morgan. But this article, you may recall reading a burst of headlines during the banking crisis in March of this year about depositors fleeing small banks for the perceived comfort of the largest banks. Unfortunately, those headlines were never put in context or updated to reflect the broader picture. In fact, using deposit data that is updated weekly from the Federal Reserve's own H.8 releases, it becomes crystal clear that the large banks are bleeding deposits at the fastest pace in 40 years. As the Federal Reserve data in the chart above indicates, deposits at the 25 largest commercial banks in the U.S. peaked at $11.6 trillion on April 13, 2022. The most recent H.8 release shows the deposits of the 25 largest banks at $10.7 trillion. That's a percentage decline of 7.8%, or $920 million. $920 billion. And it's right there. See that? Bang. From 5 point, right here. 11.68 trillion at the peak. And the bottom is 10.76 trillion. And most of that, 900 billion came out of, 900 million came out of, is it billion or million? I don't even know. The largest part came out of the big banks, not the regional banks. Billions. Deposit at smaller banks didn't peak, blah, blah, blah. Should be noted. Okay. Here it is. As we report on May 8th, the actual reality is deposits at JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo shrank by $465 billion year on year, more than twice the total of 4,000 smaller banks. So it was a lie. It was a lie that the regional banks were losing the deposits. It was a lie on purpose by our media. How often do they do that? They lie on purpose to save the banks. And they don't report stuff that's even more important than what they do report. So it's the big banks. Now, it makes sense that anybody with half a brain who went through March and saw that the FDIC was in trouble, it makes sense that if you're smart, you get out of the system any way you can. And most of those people were banking at the large banks. So it made no sense that people would almost lose their entire life savings at like Silicon Valley Bank or First Republic or Signature and then move it to another bank. As a matter of fact, a bank that has 50 times the risk, only because they're guaranteed a bailout. Well, every bank is guaranteed a bailout now. They bailed out Silicon Valley Bank, they bailed out Signature, and they bailed out First Republic. Nobody lost a penny, even the people who were not insured by the FDIC. So they can't change that. And they won't change that. If they even tried to change that, it would be instantly reversed, and the FDIC would, the pressure they'd get from Congress would be, they'd probably say, oh my God, the Fed needs to come in, and the Fed will. Because only the Fed can create money out of thin air besides Congress. The banks create most of the money, but it's not out of thin air. The banks have to have at least some deposits, so they say. They can create all the derivatives they want, as we can see from JP Morgan. So this is a crisis of the large banks. And we know what happens when just one of the too big to fail bank goes, everything goes. You lose your checking account, your savings account, your 401k, your stock portfolio, your bond portfolio. None of the exchanges will be open. You won't know the value of your gold, silver, cryptos, any of the things that you think might have value in the future. You'll have no idea what it's worth. But you won't be able to buy any for two reasons. One, the exchanges won't be open. Number two, you won't have any money. You won't have any money to spend because all the banks are shut. And that's why they call the derivative market a weapon of mass financial destruction. It was built and structured that way. This was the end game. When that goes, everything goes. And that goes when guys like this, Jamie Dimon, the largest bank derivative holder in the United States, sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein was a business partner with members of JP Morgan's board of directors. Jamie Dimon claims he didn't even know Jeffrey Epstein. He's probably the only person on the planet who didn't. But that's what he claimed under oath. Now, everybody who worked for Jamie Dimon knew who it was, knew the problems. And they, by the way, were 2 offices down from Jamie Dimon. The guy in charge of the Jeffrey Epstein account reported directly to Jamie Dimon, and he claims he didn't know. One of the largest dealer for JP Morgan, customer dealer, bringing deals to JP Morgan, was Jeffrey Epstein. And Jamie Dimon claims he didn't even know him. Why did he do that? Because he has no choice. He's involved in the trafficking of kids. Sorry, he is. And same with the board at JP Morgan, and that's why they can never fire him. I mean, what's he got? 5 felonies against a bank? Why is this bank even operating? But it's just, it's one of the many things within our world that has just completely gone off the rails, including the Biden administration, if it's even an administration. I do not think it's a real administration. I saw him take the oath of office 5 minutes before the 12 o'clock time. The transfer can't happen until 12. And they even had the clock up there as he was swearing in. I'm like, why is this happening? And then all the other stuff, it just proves that this isn't we are under some other control. Although they like showing the insanity of this administration. But remember, all this is contingent upon the mechanisms that allowed the criminality, and that mechanism was blackmail with children. All throughout Congress, all throughout the banking system, all throughout all the powerful people you know in Hollywood. If they couldn't blackmail you, then you get kicked out. And we've seen it time and time again. People who stand up against it. One of the, supposedly right now, the most popular movie in the United States is all about sex trafficking. No one's talking about it. Go to Wall Street on Parade. It talks about who the board members, one of them just died, who was knee deep. And Jamie Dimon is knee deep in this stuff too. And Wall Street on Parade does a great job exposing this stuff. Jess Stanley was the guy who was like buddy with. He was literally a couple doors down from Jamie Dimon, and he ran the entire. That's his whole job, was the Epstein connection. And he reported directly to Jamie Dimon. And there's a judge, though. There's a judge that keeps taking these cases that just gets Jamie Dimon out of it. And obviously the judge is knee-deep in this thing, too. Along with Lee Wexler, was a board member of JP Morgan. James Crown. James Crown is the guy. I think he just died. He was knee-deep with Jeffrey Epstein. John Kessler of the McCoy family, who was a board member of Bank One that was bought by JP Morgan. Where is 4 dozen bank accounts? Jeffrey Epstein had 4 dozen bank accounts at JP Morgan. So yeah, the board of directors knew all about it for decades. And yeah, Jamie Dimon testified under oath. I don't recall knowing anything about Jeffrey Epstein until the stories broke sometime in 2019. And I was surprised that I had never heard of the guy pretty much, and how involved he was with so many people. Now, JP Morgan lost, 40 million emails were deleted. You can't make this shit up. And the judge lets them all get away. Let's see, find the judge's name. It's the judge who handles all the JP Morgan stuff. He's in on it. He's 100% controlled. Ratkoff. Judge Jed Ratkoff of the Southern Court of District of New York, of course, called Epstein visiting lawsuits, and they settled at $290 million. He called it a really fine settlement while ignoring the onerous terms of the victims. By the way, they're not going to get any of that money. Removal of liability for attorneys on both sides, sweeping release of victim claims prior to finding. This is just crazy. Ratkoff also has the uncanny ability to be assigned highly sensitive corruption cases involving JP Morgan while signing off on board protective orders that seals from public view the dirty underbelly of the details. There's just so much that's coming out, and that's the key. as Jenny has said the whole time, when that comes out, when it fully comes out, and we are close to that, now all this stuff was being done, you just didn't know about it. Now more and more people are knowing about it. This Jamie Dimon case, I mean, he's having to. They settled one, so he wouldn't have to talk, and then it's the Bahamas case that's gonna nail him. I mean, that's where the information came out that, oh my God, all the board members are partners with Epstein as well. And Jamie Dimon, having testified under oath that he didn't even know the guy, don't forget, Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan can erase all the emails they want, but emails, there's another side. The internal emails will be gone, but every time an email is sent out, another entity ends up with that email. And the question is, how many emails does the DOJ have, if there are good guys in the DOJ, from JP Morgan already? I would say massive amounts. I would expect them to have all of them, with all the. I mean, they've admitted guilt to 4 felony counts. The bank, one should have shut down the bank 4 times. So anyway, that's where we are. Pretty exciting stuff, if you ask me. And by the way, yes, it's not just Jamie Dimon. It's the Disney gang of pedos that is starting to be exposed. There's no one going to Disney World anymore. Thank God. Yeah, we should be. Yeah, if you have any Disney products, get rid of them. They are knee deep and married to the cabal of the pedo cabal. So, classic picture right there. Anyway, as far as cryptos, who knows? They might put Bitcoin to $1 million, and they might put it to minus $40 again. The crypto exchanges are even worse than the other exchanges. You can just click a mouse, and because they're not real cryptos trading. So yeah, I don't know where they're going to put the cryptos. I do believe that after the destruction of the whole financial system, we're going to have to go to cryptos. We're going to want to go to cryptos. The bankers aren't going to be deciding it anymore, and there'll be no more Gary Gensler out there to help the banksters rig the price of cryptos so low that the banks get their hands on as much as possible before this transition and shift. And that's where we are now. Gensler, of course, belongs in jail with the rest of them. So yeah, for cryptos, just hang on. I don't know where they're going to put them and when, but it's all coming down this year. So if there's no more crypto exchanges to buy cryptos on, who knows what they're worth? Nobody knows. I would expect them to be extremely valuable to those who hold them in their own possession. So make sure you get your cryptos off like Coinbase and any third party, just like gold and silver. We're at the end game, and there's just no reason to still have them in the system. That's what I got for you. You want to join the private road? I got a Jenny Moonstone reading tomorrow, and we're going to talk about the when this the pedo thing and the silver thing are going to break free. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and we are very close. I think we're closer than anybody can imagine now with the announcement of the gold-backed currency by the BRICS. There is no derivative market on the world that can survive that. And they know it, and they just said it's time. And I think the U.S. knows it too. And they said, remember, U.S. is going to win when the system crashes because we're the largest debtor nation in the world. So it's kind of, oh shit, the dollar's going to lose all its value. Oh, wait a minute, we're the largest debtor, so all the debt goes away. And oh, by the way, we have 2, 3, 4 million tons of gold ready to be implemented, and silver. Who knows how many ounces of silver have been added to the nest? So that's where we are on the road to Ruta. You want more information? Go to roadtoruta.com. Subscribe today. We'll send you the coolest coin ever made for a private road subscription. You get access to everything. Everything I've done over the last 23 years in this fight. Now, I'm still fighting. I've changed focus many times, but the story's the same. The road to Ruta theory is exactly the same as it was when I found out about it in 2007. So, very interesting. Everybody else has changed its tune. Not Ruta. This is Bix. I'll talk to you later.